Hi, welcome. This is our first guest episode aside from doing audits with people. I'm really excited today to have Adele Williams here from Super Funky Penguin. Hi, Adele. It's great to have you here.
Hiya, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Adele and I met through an online networking group and we had a little chat over Zoom and we were geeking out about the power of images on your website. I thought we'd better have you on to have a little chat about how we can make the most of our images on our website and why they're so important, really. But before we start, I'd love you to introduce yourself, share a little bit about your journey and how you got into photography and what sort of drew you to it, and just let us know more about you, really.
Right, thanks, Jules. And yes, we were geeking out, weren't we? I'm Adele, and I founded Super Funky Penguin Photo and Video back in 2015. So just celebrated my 10-year anniversary this year. I'm a business and brand photographer and videographer. So I specialize in working with founders and business owners who are doing things differently, who are quietly disrupting their industry norm. And basically, I help them showcase what they're doing, what sets them apart, what makes them different, so that they can attract the right ideal clients, collaborators, and investors to them. Is that storytelling element is so important. And of course, that does go hand in hand with SEO, doesn't it? Which I'm
It
sure we're
did.
going to come
It
on.
does. It definitely does. Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important, isn't it,
So
really?
I was an engineer in a previous life, which is why I'm interested in the technical stuff and how it all works and how it all fits together, and the bigger picture when it comes to marketing, and not just focusing on one little aspect of it. I try and have a broader understanding so that I can
Yeah.
fit in the right place.
Yeah, fantastic. So how did you move from engineering into photography then?
I'd been looking for a way out for a while. I found it. I progressed very rapidly up the career path, but I was very much directed up a management route, and I went into engineering originally because I wanted to design and create stuff. I didn't get much of a chance to do that. Got lots of chance to be customer facing and lead teams, which was on the one hand, really good experience, but on the other hand, not what I'm on this earth to do. So, when I left on maternity leave with my eldest, I decided that I would set up a business, but I didn't know what that was going to be. I've had a proper camera since I was 7 years old, and it was the obvious career path that was staring me in the face. And it all came about photographing toddler-friendly music concerts in Bristol. We were going along to toddler-friendly music concerts in Bristol with my little one, and I noticed that nobody was taking photos, and it was this amazing vibe. There were performers walking around the place and little ones following them, and just so much going on, and the light was beautiful. So I contacted the lady who'd founded them and said, "Can I bring my camera? I'm not professional, but can I bring it along?" And she was so enthusiastic and so encouraging. And she said, take photos of the mums with their little ones, take photos of the audience members, because she knew something I didn't, and that was that mums tend to not be in pictures. So that's how I started. I started as an events photographer, a family photographer, wedding photographer, and then it built from there. I got asked to do a few business shoots. And then in 2021, I pivoted to focusing solely on brand photography, and I absolutely love it. I've found where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Really amazing story there. I think there's I talk to a lot of photographers who make that move from wedding photography, family photography over into brand photography. And I think it's really important. I think understanding why photography is so important for businesses. So what do you think is the most important thing about professional photography, especially if we're talking about it in relation to websites?
Yeah,
How important do you think it is?
I think it is the most important thing. It's the
Nice.
most important thing you can do for your business. It doesn't matter how functionally excellent your website is. It doesn't matter how awesome your copy is. People won't stick around to find that out if you're not capturing their attention with your visuals. And if you're using stock photography, then you're missing a massive trick because you're not sharing who you are. So you're starting to build trust. You're starting to build that relationship with the people who come to your website. They can see who you are, they can see what you're about, and they can start to get a really good feel for you. Once you've got their attention, they've seen your visuals, then they stick around and they read what you've got to say and they look at the packages you've got to offer. But it's that stopping the scroll. And the world we live in at the moment, we are overloaded with content, websites everywhere, social media going crazy. With the rise of AI, we've got everyone can generate content, good
Yeah.
content for the most part. Some awful stuff, but some good content for the most part. But we're being swamped with that information. And what you have to be really careful not to lose the sight of is that personal aspect, the people behind the business, what makes the business tick, and how you do business, how you work with your clients. Once you showcase all of that, you're really telling your story in the simplest and most effective way possible. So if you're not doing it, make a change and actually do it.
So I think that is so true actually, and I'm all about the copy on the website as well. I think you can have a beautiful website, but if the words aren't right, I mean, and it's very true with the images as well. You could have a beautiful website, but if the images aren't right, then you're not going to grab people's attention. They're not going to stay around to actually read that copy and to actually take the action you want them to take. I think that's really important, definitely. Do you have any particular sort of photos that you feel like every website should have? Do you have anything like, oh, you must have this if you're working with clients?
Yes, the number one top recommendation I have a photo of you or you and your team on the very front page of your website, on your homepage, above the fold at the very top. Make it personal from the start. Show who you are from the start. Don't make it so that people have to hunt through your website to see who you are. And then I know that headshots can be important if you have a team, but they don't have to be boring and bland. They can be headshots where your team members are actually working or you're doing stuff and you can see they're animated in what they're doing. They're interested in what they're doing rather than standing with a blank wall behind them looking slightly terrified at the camera.
Yeah, that used to be a real issue when I was back in the salon and it was the day of headshots. Everybody would hate it. But yeah, we never really approached it at that angle. Now, and now I sort of look at it and think, yeah, there was so much more value in capturing those people doing their creative work that they were doing. And you can still get the whole of their face in, you can still show them properly, but it's just, yeah, how much more personality does that have into it than a headshot, really, that everybody hates having taken anyway. And then they all look the same as well. And then when somebody new joins, if you haven't then got that same setup, then it really stands out like a sore thumb that, oh, this person's obviously just had someone come in with their iPhone and take that picture.
Yeah, that's right. And it does stand out and it
It
doesn't
really
look
does.
particularly professional. And there's a lot
No.
of bigger companies that are guilty of that too. I have
Yeah.
seen that. And
Whereas
then,
I
oh,
guess if
sorry.
you take them separately and take them of actually people working or
Yeah.
just different kinds of shots, then that it doesn't stand out as much then really, does it? And it makes it easier then to have one new team member that needs a photo. It's far easier than everything all set up and the lighting's exactly the same and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that sort of leads on to the other recommendation is having behind the scenes shots. So your team actually working, you actually working, doing what you do. People are nosy. We're nosy. We're curious. We like to see what goes on behind the scenes.
Mm.
We want to see how they work with people. What is it they're actually doing? What tools do they use? It might be a laptop or it might be a chisel and saw. It depends on the industry. It might be makeup artist brushes, whatever. It's that showing the tools of the trade, how you use them, and how you work with customers and clients as well.
Yeah, yeah, it can get so much across quickly as well as you were saying. If we're using the right visuals next to that copy on our website, it can make such a big difference, really.
Takes
So,
the
are
mystery
there?
away.
Sorry, say that again.
It takes the mystery away.
Yeah, it does. It does. And just I think it really helps people to not have to burn those mental calories trying to work out what you do. So, have you noticed any common mistakes that people make when they're choosing images for their website?
Yes, a big one. I guess I work with a few different web designers, and one of the things that they get very upset and exasperated about is when a client comes to them with a bank of portrait images, so vertical images. That's when you can make your web designer cry, because trying to fit those into basically a landscape platform is really hard, and it's those banner images at the top, like the letterbox images, you can really struggle to get something that will fit into that space. So yes, that making sure that you've got the right orientation for your images and that they fit where you want them to go. So if you've got hexagons in your branding, you're going to want photos that fit into a hexagon. So a common mistake, I think, is to go ahead and get the photos done first and not think about where you're going to apply them. And one of the services that I offer to my clients is a website photo shoot where I do work with their web designer and graphic designer, and we make sure together that we're intentionally capturing images that are going to tell the story they need and fit in the spaces on the website.
Oh, it's so important. Obviously, I've built many websites over the years, and actually, the ones that have been the easiest to build have been ones either where they've got a lot of photography, where they're really great at actually taking photos and having photos taken, or the ones where they have actually thought about what they need before they start building the website, start taking photos and that sort of thing. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Have you got any tips for if they are having a photo shoot and they want to feel sort of confident and relaxed in front of the camera? Have you got any sort of tips or any ways that you sort of help your clients to relax? How can we all feel better about having our photos taken?
Well, I'll start off by saying that if you do feel nervous in front of the camera, you're not alone. It is a totally normal feeling. I know I hate being in front of the camera. I know that 98% of my clients, maybe more than that, do not like having their photos taken, but they do come back for more shoots and they do have fun. I think the number one most important thing is you need to find a photographer that specializes in brand photography, not somebody who is, they just do events or they do weddings or they do portraiture. It's a very specific niche, and there are skills that you need that take experience and take time to sort of build up that experience to know what you're trying to capture and how to capture that story. So finding an experienced brand photographer, I think, is important. Finding somebody whose style you love is important, because you might like them, or they might be the right price, or they might have the experience, but if the style of images they produce isn't right for you, then it's not going to work with your website. But above all, I always encourage them to go find a photographer, make sure that you personally feel comfortable with them. So it's knowing that you have that rapport with your photographer before you even walk into your shoot, knowing that you feel comfortable talking to them and expressing what you feel nervous about. I actively encourage my clients, if there's anything about themselves that they're not comfortable with, to let me know before the shoot. We talk through it. If there's something that you don't want, some angle
This is
you
my
don't
bad
like,
side.
or yeah, a particular side, or
Yeah.
anything really, just be open. And if you don't feel you can have that honest conversation with your photographer, it might be worth having a little look around to see who else is out there. Because when you feel comfortable with your photographer, that's what comes across in your photos. Because when you see all the photos that are out there, all those brand photos, you get those engaging shots where somebody's looking at the camera or they're doing something and they're really coming alive and they look relaxed. That is in response to the photographer. But when we view it, we think it's our brains go, oh, that person's smiling and looking engaging. We think it's on the subconscious level, we think it's towards us. It's actually who was in the room at the time. It was them and the photographer. And it's the photographer helping them to feel that confidence in them. I do it by, we chat, basically. We chat, we have a laugh, we make it fun, we go at my client's pace. So some people come in and they're full of energy and they're like, yes, where do I stand? What do I do? Let's get this done. Other people come in and they just need a little bit more time to settle in, and they need a slower pace and a bit more direction. So I tailor it depending on the person who's there. And the most common feedback I have at the end of a shoot is my client will say, oh, I totally forgot you were taking photos. I was just enjoying myself.
Oh.
So I love that, because it means they've settled into it and I've brought them out of themselves and they're showing their potential and who they are.
Yeah, and that must be amazing as a photographer. That I guess, yeah, that is what you're really aiming for, isn't it? Really, yeah. So, what are some of the things that you think people need to have in place before they start thinking about professional photography, either updating their photography or if it's their first professional brand shoot that they're getting done? Is there anything in particular that you think you've got to have this done before you get to that point?
That's a really good question. I think it depends on the client, and I have had inquiry calls where I've advised them that now's not the right time for a shoot. You need to maybe have a think about your branding. But in reality, because especially small businesses, when you're just starting out, you are your brand. the business is you, and there's no separating that. Doesn't matter how fancy your logo is. The thing behind the scenes is you making it happen. So even if you don't have branding, you can opt for a smaller shoot. So for example, I've got a mini shoot package that I offer, which has 10 images. That's enough to get you started with a landing page and use your photos on social media.
Mhm.
We can keep it neutral. So you've got the flexibility of getting your branding done later and still using your photos. You're probably likely to want to have a new shoot anyway when you get your branding done. But I think just a basic shoot to get you started, to get your face out there and get building that trust with your audience is going to really set you up for the next step and the next step and sort of leveling up. I would say before investing in like a big brand shoot, one of my most popular packages is a 3 hour brand shoot. I would say before doing that, you probably want your branding in place. You probably want at least a strategy for your website, but usually people have got a website that they're refreshing. So you want your branding and a good feel for who your clients are, what it is you're doing. When you first start out, you don't know that. And that's something we don't get told, isn't it? When you're
Yeah,
first starting
absolutely.
out, no matter how good your idea is, you don't know actually who's going to be drawn to you and what's going to be the common factor across all of them and how to pitch to them and market to them.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is get yourself out there and start somewhere, start working. So yes, a few photos to get started, and then as you build and grow, you will know that those photos aren't serving anymore or your website's not serving anymore and it's time to actually do something about it. And that's the time to level up and go for the bigger shoot.
Yeah, that's so true. I really feel like that whole thing of done is better than perfect is
Oh
so
yeah.
important, especially when we are just starting out or just making changes. I think it's much better to get it done, see what happens. Even like just doing something and then sleeping on it and then coming back and looking at it again, you can often see things there really. So yeah, great advice there, definitely.
Imperfect action is better than perfect inaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No one can buy from you if they can't find you, and they can't find you if you're completely hidden or you're not putting it out there. One of the most common things that I see in Facebook groups I'm in, where it's actually people who are just getting started in business and they're, yeah, I'm going to launch my website in 3 months' time or in a month's time or whatever. And it's like, no, just get it out there because it's hard. Getting people to your website is difficult. So actually, the sooner you get it out there, even if, because I think people are worried that they put it out there and then everyone finds it and is critical of it. And actually, most of the time, getting people to your website is not that easy, really, unless you actually are taking action and doing that in a conscious way. So, yeah, done is definitely better than perfect.
Yeah, just get started. You
Yeah,
can always
absolutely. Yeah,
improve it and build on it, but you've got to get something
absolutely.
out there to start off with.
Yeah. And I think that's probably a good point of actually that we often compare our day one to somebody else's day 100. And
Yeah.
actually, that makes such a big difference. What show were we watching the other day? Oh, I can't remember. It was one and we were, oh, it's 25 years. Location has been on for 25 years. And they replayed the first episode and we were watching it. And it was awful. I mean, it was very 90s and it just made us cringe. But it was such a good example of don't compare what they do now to what you're doing, you're on day one. And yeah, it was a really good example of that, actually. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are lots of people with very big budgets and they're very polished, and actually that doesn't have to prevent you from getting your own stuff out there, really.
No, not at
Definitely.
all. Not at
Definitely.
all. And even if you are just absolutely starting out and you have zero budget, there are things you can do with your phone to, good natural light, clear the space behind you so it's a simplified background. Find something to prop your phone up on, set a timer, and just take a whole load of photos of yourself. It is, I admit, I'm on board with this. It can be quite a painful task because obviously when you hire a photographer, you don't get to see all the shots where you're blinking, pulling a funny face, talking. You get to see the only the good ones. So when you take photos for yourself, there will be some that don't look great, and you just have to just keep going, take a few more photos, and you'll get something that you can use to get you started. So there's always ways of getting yourself out there.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, actually. I'm sorry, the dog is going crazy. I don't know why. Somebody breathed outside or something, so she's going crazy. But yeah, I think that's actually really good to hear that from a photographer as well. Of it, it's okay to start with this, and if that helps you to get out there, then that's really important doing that, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's come to a sort of from an SEO point of view and
Yes.
visibility and website visibility and using your images strategically to help you. Is that something you would consider when you're working with clients? Do you think about how your clients might use photos for things like blog posts or press releases if they're trying to get some digital PR and get some backlinks to their website, or SEO? Is it something that you consider as a photographer?
Yes. In terms of SEO, it's something that I do on my website. Yes, it's just such an easy win that's behind the scenes, but it can be really powerful. In terms of use of photos for marketing and promotion, yes, absolutely. It's one of the things that we go over in the planning session is how are you planning on using your photos? And then we can take images that will do the job and capture the attention in the right way, depending on how they're going to be applied. And I think that's important. And one of the things that I think, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an SEO expert. I just tinker. I've had somebody do the SEO and then I just tinker and keep it up to date as best I can. It's the longer somebody stays on your website, the better. And they're going to dwell longer if you've got engaging images that have then drawn them in to read the text. So that helps. And then you've got the alt text where
Yeah,
you can write in descriptions. And that's I think that's one of the really hidden powerful tools that you can use. So
yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
And also, people are more likely to share or backlink to your website if it looks good, if it looks professional, if you look engaging. So
yeah.
it sort of those three things I think are really worth considering and is a reason to invest in professional photography, but also do the behind the scenes stuff as well, or get somebody else to do it for you or show
Yeah.
you how to do it.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a really good approach to it actually, because I think the image alt text and actually though having the right sort of imagery for if we're sort of taking, I always use the example of a salon website. So if you're creating a content, you're thinking about your website pages and you're thinking, okay, I want to create a page around anti-aging facials, if you've got machinery that you're using, those kind of things. And then on that page, you've got a picture of somebody doing a pedicure or a picture of a foot or something next to it, then there is an immediate disconnect. And
Yeah.
also, then in that image alt text, ideally, what we want to be doing is whatever keyword or whatever key phrase we're trying to get that page to rank for, we want that to be within that image alt text of at least one image on that page, ideally more than that. And you can't do that. If it's a picture about a pedicure, you can't then use that key phrase of anti-aging facials or whatever brand of machinery it is that you're using. So just taking that step back and thinking about that before you start having the photos taken, I think that is just so important, really. It really is. And it all ties in with that SEO. And as you say, people are going to want to link to those websites that look good, that give good information, that are engaging with people as well. Definitely, definitely.
And the other thing, it's a little bit, it's not my area of expertise, but one thing I've noticed as a brand photographer, and I'm sure your clients in the wellness industry will have the same thing, you have to find clients in your local area. So you want people who are local to you to find you. And the number of people who on their social media, on their websites, don't put their location. I find that really hard. I'm like, well, I really love what you do, and I'd like, but where are you?
Yes.
And one of the things you can do with the alt text is, right, for example, facial in and then the location. Yeah, because otherwise you want to rank for SEO for the location, you might have it in your copy text, but you don't want to have it as every third sentence.
No, no.
But you need it to feature there somewhere, and it's just that extra way of getting your location there so you're hopefully more likely to turn up when somebody searches for
Yeah.
whatever it is you do in their area.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you could certainly do that if you were had a picture of the outside of your location, if you have a physical location, a shop or a salon or wherever it is, a physical location, and you have an image of the outside, a beautiful image of the outside of that, then actually adding that location into the alt text and maybe even linking to Google Maps from there as well, so that actually it
Yeah.
all ties in together. It all helps Google and the AI bots and any type of search engine. It all helps, and people as well. That's the most important thing. It helps
Yes.
people to make those connections between you and understand that you are local, really. So when people are sort of preparing for a shoot with you, do you have a checklist of things they need to do beforehand or anything like that?
Yeah, my clients get homework. They get homework. I have a brand workbook, and when I first started doing this, I was quite nervous that my clients would say, "Well, I'm not doing that. I don't want homework. This is too hard." But actually, I've only had positive feedback. It's an enjoyable homework, and it just helps them to start thinking about their brand and their business in the right way for a shoot. So it's thinking about who their ideal clients are. It's thinking about what their core values are. What stories do they actually want to tell? There's also a visual exercise I get them to do as well. So I get them to browse the internet and just pick images that really resonate with them or that they hate. It can go either way. It's interesting. You set somebody a task, you never know how they're going to do it. So we then have a planning session where we go through their homework, and I take a look at the photos that they've chosen, and we talk through what's drawn them to those photos and or what they don't like about it. So I've got one client who the images that she sent me were all really cheesy, staged, posed photos. And I thought, we've known each other a long time. This isn't my style of photography. What's going on? And it was just that, oh, the whites have to be white. The whites in my photos have to be white. And it's those kind of things that come out. So it's not that I'm not setting out to copy other photographers' work. I'm making sure that I'm on the same page as my client as to what kind of aesthetic they're after. If they might be really cozy, warm images, they might be much more simplistic. They might look clinical, or they might look, I don't know, what's the opposite of clinical? I've already said warm and friendly, haven't I?
I'm thinking shabby chic. That maybe could be
Shabby chic, yeah. So it's making sure that we're aligned with the visuals with, it's important to know if they want the whites to be white, I'll edit the whites to be white. If they want it a warmer feel, I'll edit the photos that way.
Yeah.
The aim is that what they get from me is aligned to their brand and tells their story and is, giving the right vibe to their audience. So there's the homework and a planning session, and then I put together a shoot plan. But by the end of all of that, they know exactly what they need in terms of props, exactly who needs to be there and when. We've got timing sorted out. We don't always stick completely to the plan, but it's there so that we know that we tick everything off that we need to cover. It gives my clients peace of mind that they know what to do. And then it just takes some of that fear away. I know they still are a little reticent when I turn up. It takes some of that hesitance away.
I think it's all about you being like, I talk a lot about Donald Miller and the story brand framework. And actually it's all about what we get across on your website, about you being that trusted guide. And it absolutely sounds like that's what you're providing for your clients. Certainly, I know I haven't done a lot of photo shoots since I've been in my own business, but certainly back in the salon, we used to do a few of those. And that never happened. So it was always a little bit like, oh, I'm not quite sure what we're doing here. Let's start moving the furniture around. And yeah, I think if we'd have had somebody like you come in, think about what we were trying to achieve from it, give us a plan, basically, that actually you're in charge, you know what we need to do, you can see that vision of what we're going to use from it. That would make such a big difference. It really would. So it sounds like you're providing an amazing service for your customers, and they're lucky to have you, definitely. So one final question is, and I don't know if we've maybe covered this already a little bit, but what is one photo that every business owner should make sure they have?
It's definitely a picture of their face, a professional or a professional looking image of themselves looking confident and engaging. And it needs to be not low resolution, because you don't want a pixelated image on your website. That will not build trust. So I think that's the thing, is it's getting your face out there, even if it's only if you really, really don't want photos of your face. That's one of the beauties of brand photography. It's not portrait photography. You get a bank of images, but it's not all your face. There's a lot of detail shots and behind the scenes shots and flat lays and tools of the trade, all of that to build the picture. But we still need at least one photo of your face. And I have had clients that have asked not to have their face featured. I've taken a sneaky shot anyway when they didn't realize. And at the end, they were delighted, and that photo gets used everywhere. So it is important.
I see that quite a lot with online business owners, where they've obviously had brand shoots done, and it's all their website is all images of them. And yeah, that's not really then showing them as the hero rather than that trusted guide to help people along the journey.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We want to see your face, but not too much of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's that balance, isn't it? Definitely, definitely. Oh, well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this chat. This has been great to just geek out again about photos and the importance of it and the importance of thinking about these things for our websites, really. And actually, the one thing you did just say about the resolution, I think it's also getting that balance right between making sure that our images that we're putting onto our website are actually web safe, because they're all like, in terms of the size, because they don't need to be print photography. They need to have that balance there of making sure that the file size, ideally we want them to be under 100 kilobytes, which always makes photographers go, no, how dare you? But actually, unless it really is a big hero image, then there's no reason why it would need to be more than that. And even if it is, it still needs to be sort of, able to load quickly on a mobile. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's that balance between, you don't want the full resolution image, but you also don't want the little postage stamp one.
Yeah, the thumbnail one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not good. If you're trying to portray a professional brand, then it's really not good. And you're trying to ultimately show, whether it's products or services, you're trying to show everything that you're doing in the best light possible. So actually, yeah, making sure you get that balance is really important, definitely. So Adele, just remind us where people can actually contact you, and just let us know again, what you specifically do and who you help and where we can contact you.
So you can find me at superfunkypenguin.co.uk. That's my website. And I'm a business and brand photographer and videographer, and I specialize in working with quiet disruptors who are shaking up the industry norm.
Love it. I love it. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye.